Good evening. I got some parts to reinstall on the DLZ. It's taking me about 2 hours to scratch through my parts, my spare parts here, to find this little bolt. Okay, let's get to my computer. Right. I got some parts to replace on the DLZ. This ring, I forgot to install it. It's not so serious. No slippage, or clutch slip of any kind. So I got to reinstall this thing. And of course, when I did the rebuild last year on the motorcycle, I was waiting upon these little bolts. These are now for the water pump. Okay, previous person did not have one of these. I mean, these things are fucking affordable things, like you can't believe. They're cheap, man. It's like what? It's about what $30 or something. And then I kept the gasket here. This is when I did the rebuild and I bought a complete gasket kit. But on off all the time it tends to break. So I'm also going to show you that I'm not going to be buying gaskets anymore. I'm going to use the RT gasket sealant. Okay, it works way better, and you don't have to tighten the bolts. Over tighten the bolts, and that way you don't like strip the thread or break the bolt itself. You know, because like once you tighten it, it stretches and loosen again, it shrinks again. So I'll just kiss the bolts on there and it makes a perfect seal. Of course I leave it for 24 hours to cure. And then of course I had gear slippage. When I bought the bike, I took it for a test drive, but I didn't go through all the gears. And basically the same day I noticed that the bike, when I was in 3rd gear, it bypasses into 5th gear, and then I knew I fucked up. But little did I know, it wasn't the internal parts or the components of the engine itself. It was this little bolt here. This stopper bolt, okay, was causing my over selection of gear. What this does is, this stopper does, it controls the rotation of the cam drum itself. Alright, so this is now part 1, and I'll make a part 2 and I'll show you guys how I dig into the motor, and I'll show you that little bolt I replaced. But before that, I actually watched a YouTube video on how to inspect the transmission components. I did watch, I will admit that I did watch some YouTube videos, like Shane Conley YouTube videos, on how to inspect the transmission. But as I say, I couldn't find any problems with the transmission, like the input shaft, output shaft. But he did mention on the video there, in his earlier years, he did help a friend out. They took the motor apart 3 times, and they couldn't figure out why the motor, while the transmission was slipping. But then they saw that this little bolt here, the stopper arm, was causing the over selection. I don't know if you can see it there, but if you take a nail across there, you can actually feel ridges on there. Okay, so this is part 1. Hopefully you guys stick around for part 2. Okay, thank you.